Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Zepp, and those unfamiliar with my channel, I used to cover other gacha games. I've never been able to play an open world game similar to the ones that, the Hoyoverse makes. Genshin or Honkai Star Rail. This is my first Hoyoverse game, but I've really enjoyed it. Coming from the gacha space, it does not seem to be as predatory as other gacha games, which is really nice, but I really enjoy the combat. It feels like a normal game to me, which is really cool considering the free-to-play aspect of it. What I've done on other videos for my channel is get really into depth on some of these things, just explain as the best I can for people that might have been picking up the game before and they're early on. Maybe they don't know what all of the things do, where to use the items, which tends to be a pretty big thing in gacha games. You get afraid of using items that could be very, very valuable and you don't want to waste them. So a lot of what I'm going to explain today in this beginner's guide is going over all of the nuts and bolts of the game. Your heroes, your items, your weapons, your gear, things that you should be doing on a daily basis. The important things that you need to be collecting, the parts of the game that are probably going to be geared towards endgame, the areas that I think that the developers are going to be able to create events on, things of that nature. So I'm hoping that it's an informative video for beginners and maybe just some early game players. Considering, the making of this video is 10 days after the game's released, the game's going to be really fresh to almost everybody, including myself. I didn't get to play in any kind of betas or anything like that, so I just picked up the game, started playing it, and grinding a little bit, and now I want to pass on some of the things that I've learned onto people that are either thinking of picking up the game or have been playing for a couple days. So with videos like this, they tend to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to put up some timestamps on the screen right now. And hopefully, if you don't want to stick around for, the full length of the video, that these timestamps help you get into, an area that you might have a couple more questions on. So that's what the whole purpose of that is. And without further ado, let's start. So the first thing we're going to talk about are your heroes. In this game, they are called agents, which you can actually click on the icon at the top right part of your screen here with the square button. If you're playing with a controller, if you're playing, on PC or whatever, it's just that farthest icon to the left from the top right. Now, if you don't see all of these buttons yet, if you've been playing the game, don't worry, just keep progressing through the main story, and eventually you're going to have these button options to be able to pick and choose what to do within the game. Much more easy than having to walk or run everywhere in the game if you don't want to do that. So just keep that in mind. If you're not this far, it's okay. You will eventually unlock them. It doesn't take too long to do all those things, but just little caveat there. So we're going to click on the agents here. Now your agents in this game, there's two different types of rarities. In most gachas, they probably have 3 or 4. In this one, I've only seen 2. I don't know if they're going to release more rarities in the future, but as of now, there are just the 2. We have S, like Kaleda here. She is the highest rarity ranked character, along with people like Ellen. And then you have your A rank characters like Anton or Ben. With such a small hero pool in this game, I know people tend to think that the lower rarity characters aren't as useful or useless, and I can honestly say that most of the characters in this game I have found to be useful. It's more about synergy than the rating on your character's rarity. However, as you scale further into the end game, the A characters might drop off. But as of now, all of the characters are completely usable, so don't think that if you don't have a certain character, your account is doomed. So other than the rarity, there are some differences in the characters. As you see on Kaleda here, she has this fire element right next to her level right there. It has a little fire icon. Anton has the energy, Ellen has ice. And then you have, this little star which indicates physical. And then also you have an ether element. The elements are important because your characters can actually deal damage based on that element, and some of the enemies in the game are weak to some of those elements. Now, I should note that in this video, we are not going to be going over combat. Combat is a video all on its own, because if I did combat in this video, it would be even longer, and this video is already long enough. So stay tuned for the in-depth guide for combat. So each character has their own element type, which will allow them to do damage based on that element. On top of that, they have a subtype. Kaleda here has a stun subtype. Ellen has attack. Nicole has support. Ben has defense. And then one of the characters that actually don't have Grace is an anomaly subtype. Now we'll go into these subtypes in a little more detail whenever we do the combat guide, but I will just give you a general understanding of what some of those subtypes mean. So a stun subtype is someone that specializes in building up the daze bar. Now the daze bar on enemies is something that if it gets to full, it'll end up stunning the enemy, leaving them unable to act for a certain amount of time, and you can also deal more damage to them. So stun characters specialize in building that up so you're allowed to do really large amounts of damage all at once. They don't really specialize in raw damage, but it is a key factor in combat to kind of build up the daze on those enemies, so it allows you to do a bunch of different joint attacks or just do more damage to the enemy in general. Now, attack is exactly what you would think it is. These are your raw damage dealers. They tend to have a lot more damage dealing capability outside of when an enemy is dazed. You're able to just do raw damage. However, whenever they're an attack subtype, they tend to have, some squishier stats. So you really need to be able to dodge or switch into your stronger support characters or tankier characters to allow for your attack heroes to stay alive throughout the length of the battle. Your support heroes are heroes that have some kind of stat boosting effect to your team, some kind of defense break on the enemy, so on and so forth. Defense characters have the ability to put up shields. They have the ability to even add additional defense to your entire squad. And the anomaly subtype, which we'll definitely go into further detail in the combat video, but a snapshot of this is a separate build-up bar during combat, where if the bar is then full, it will enable some kind of effect on the enemy, which I'll put up on the screen right now. And once that anomaly takes place, the next hit on that enemy will deal a large amount of damage. So that's what all of the subtypes are, just as a footnote kind of explanation. So there are a couple different ways to enhance the power of your characters. The first one is simply by leveling up their level. So in order to do this, you need a couple different items. You'll eventually hit a roadblock. In this game, it's every 10 levels. You'll need a different item to then get past that barrier to allow you to level up to the next 10 levels. On top of that, there is an additional requirement within the game, whether it's your level as a player or your account level. And then next is your reputation, which is something you build up in the game by doing the main quest storyline or side quests, which we'll touch on here in a second. All of the items that are required for promotion or anything of that nature in regards to gear, skills, or weapons, we're going to go over in the item section. But I just want to talk about some of the ways that you can make your character stronger. So the first one is just through leveling up their base levels. The next way to increase the power of your agents is through their skills. So each agent has 5 different skills. You have your basic attack, which is going to be the attack that you utilize the most. And as I said, we'll be going through all of this in more detail during the combat video, but I do want to just reference these skills in this video to talk about how you can enhance your character's power. So you have your basic attack, you have a dodge attack, you have an assist attack, which is switching in and out of the character. You have a special attack, which requires you to build up energy. Now you can see this in combat based on this little bar that's underneath your hero. And once you surpass a certain amount of energy based on the bar indicated in combat, your EX special attack will then become active. So your special attack will always be able to be activated as long as you want to. But if you want to build up enough energy, you'll have to not use that attack and wait till the energy is built up to use your EX special attack. And then each character has an ultimate ability. Now the ultimate ability can be triggered by accumulating what this game calls decibels. This is something that you get just by attacking and hitting enemies, and it's located on the far left part of the screen during combat. Once that hits 3,000 decibels, the ultimate ability will open up on all of your characters. Once you use the ultimate of one of your characters, your decibels will reset. So each of these skills, you see that there's a number next to them out of 12. You can actually increase the level of these skills, and what that does is it increases the multiplier of that skill. So if you increase it to level 12, your damage multiplier is going to be much higher than what it was at level 1, greatly increasing the power of your agent. Now if you do this for all of their skills, anytime you utilize any one of them, it's going to be much stronger and deal more damage. So another way to increase the strength of your agents is by leveling up their core skills. Now each character comes with a core passive that is usually triggered somehow through combat. With Lucy, her core passive is triggered through combat by using her special attack or EX special attack. And then they also have an additional ability, which usually has some kind of requirement pertaining to your team setup. In Lucy's case, this additional ability is unlocked if there's another character in your squad that shares either the same attribute or her faction. And if you want to know what the faction is, it's right above the element and the subtype of the character. So in this one, she is part of the Sons of Caledon. So these are the baseline core skills that Lucy has. If you wanted to increase the ability of any of these skills, if you go over to the A button here, you'll see that you can actually upgrade this to level 1. And when you do that, you see in the description that the cheer on buff for the guard boars is increased to 150%, where the original effect, as you see here, is 140% in green lettering. So the way you upgrade that is by using a material called Denny. It's the most common currency in the game, and you should not be afraid to use it to upgrade this core passive on any of your characters. Along with that, you see right underneath the words core skill enhancement, it says base energy regen increases by 0.12 seconds. So she's going to get an additional energy regen when you upgrade this as well. So as you go down the line with the B, C, D, E, and F buttons, you see that you get some more increases to your core passive effect, as well as this bottom part, the bottom buttons B, D, and F, you also get your base attack increased the further along that you upgrade this. So if you increase your core passive on the B, D, and F buttons, you're going to gain an additional 75 attack as well. But you see that comes with additional items, and we'll be going over that here later in the video. And then the same thing on the top line, you'll get additional energy regen. So this is a great way to increase your character's strength. And then the last thing to increase your character's strength is your equipment. So in your equipment, there's two things to look out for. The first one is your drive discs, which are your gear in this game. Now there's different types of gear. This gear set right here is called the Woodpecker Electro. Very interesting gear name. You have Shockstar Disco, you have Puffer Electro, so on and so forth. And you see that these pieces of gear have a base stat, and then they also have random stats with 4 slots available to them. Each of the corresponding locations of your drive discs can give you different variables and stats. So you see have the number 1 slot, the number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So for the 1 slot, your base stat will always be HP. It never changes. However, your substats can change. On your number 2 gear, base flatline attack will always be the main stat. Same thing with slot number 3, where defense, flat defense will be the main stat. These types of gear pieces are going to be the easiest pieces of gear to get good gear slots just because you don't have as much variance in the base stat. All you have to look out for are the substats. Now, gear slots 4, 5, and 6 do have a bunch of different variants in their base stat. So you have anomaly proficiency, crit damage, defense, HP percentage, attack percentage, and so on and so forth. So not only are you looking for a specific base stat, you're also looking for a specific set of substats as well. So these pieces are going to be way more valuable, especially if you get a strong piece of gear here. On the 5th slot, again, more variance. HP, you have the ability to get elemental stat damage bonuses, as well as attack percentage, defense percentage, and then pen ratio, which is ignoring a specific amount of defense. And then in your 6th slot, same thing, a lot of different variants. It seems like impact and energy regen tend to be the number 6 slot unique characteristic of this gear slot. So in short, gear slots 1, 2, and 3 are going to be the easiest pieces of gear to get good pieces, and then 4, 5, and 6 are going to be much rarer to find a really good piece with the main stat that you're looking for along with the substats. Another thing that you want to pay attention to when it comes to gear are the set effects. So you see here on the Woodpecker Electro, if you have 2 pieces of this gear equipped, it will increase the crit rate by 8%. And then if you have 4 pieces, it comes with an additional effect. So you want to make sure that you're pairing your characters with maybe 2-piece sets to make sure that you get an additional benefit out of your gear slots. And I'll talk about where you can acquire gear later on in the video. So one last thing on gear, if you see here, right underneath the name Woodpecker Electro, it has an A symbol. So your gear also has level ratings as well. Gear that is level B is almost entirely worthless. I would not waste any kind of material on this gear. I would just get rid of it. We'll talk about, what you can do to discard this, to dismantle it for a necessary item to level up your gear, but you do not want to level up your B gear. It would be a waste of resources. Your level A gear, I think, is going to be usable, especially in the early to mid game. It most likely falls off towards the end game, in comparison to S gear. But if you see the difference in the B and A, your base HP, your base stat is much lower. And then the amount of levels that you can level up your gear on the B is only to level 9. And with the A gear, it's up to level 12. So your base stat is going to be able to be increased even more as well. So I guess I should mention, when you're leveling up gear, it requires the materials that you see below here. And again, during the item section, I'll talk about where you can locate these items and what they do. Although you're getting a glimpse here, this is how you upgrade your gear. So every 3 levels of upgrading your gear, so right now I will increase this gear piece from level 0 to level 3. When I do this, my base stat is going up. And then once it's actually upgraded, I have a chance to either upgrade one of the random stats that the gear piece already has, or I have the ability to add an additional random stat. So here we go. We'll upgrade this from 0 to 3 and we'll see what we get. Okay, so we had an additional random stat added, which is flat defense. This piece is not very good, but we're going to keep increasing it for the video. So now we're going from level 3 to level 6. So here I got an additional substat, and this one is HP percentage. So both times I actually got additional random stats instead of adding on to a stat that I already had. So let me show you an example of a gear piece that actually got an additional roll on a substat already acquired. You can actually see it here on Ellen. You see the HP plus 1 on the substat. That's how you know that it rolled an extra roll into a substat that I already had. So that's what leveling up gear does. You have the ability to add those random stats or increase the random stats that you already have. And you can increase the base stat on the actual gear piece itself. So that's gear. So another way to increase the power of your characters through equipment is something that the game calls a W engine, which is a special type of weapon that a character can wear. Now, the W engine comes with a base stat as well as a substat. On top of that, you will get an additional effect on your hero if you meet the specific requirements of that W engine. So in this case of Housekeeper, you can see the W engine effect says for characters with the attack subtype, the following effects can be triggered. And then it goes into, additional energy regen if you meet a certain criteria. So if this is equipped to that subtype, you get that additional effect. So you can place this on whoever you want. However, if you don't put it on a hero that has that attack specialty, you're not going to get the full effect of the W engine. So as with your gear, your W engine is able to be enhanced as well. So you have to level it up to a certain level. You can level it up to level 10. And then once you do, you can then increase the level threshold 10 more levels if you have the necessary item to do so. And again, later in the video, I'll show you where you can acquire these items. So then you can modify it, increase the level up to level 20. And you see the base stat and the attack stat also increased whenever I leveled it up from level 10 into the next threshold. So we can do the same thing here if I had the necessary materials. And you see the advanced stats actually increase as well. So I haven't been able to increase a W engine up to, level 40 or 50, but I'm assuming that the advanced stats are actually going to be able to acquire an additional advanced stat in the future as well. So these W engines are very, very strong. So on top of the level of the W engine, you can increase its star rating. So right here on Housekeeper, the star rating is level 1, but if I were to add a copy of this W engine, you'll see that the effect of this W engine actually increases. You can see it in the little box here titled W engine upgrade. It says the next phase, where you have an increase to your energy regen and then your physical damage increases by an additional 0.5%. So if we increase that, that is now the new effect of our W engine. Now, just like with gear, you have different ratings for your W engine. You have S, A, and B. In my opinion, again, B is not really worth leveling up. I don't think you should waste the resources on it, but A's are definitely going to be viable, and you can use them probably for a while. But in the end game, I would presume they're probably going to fall off. But don't quote me on that. And then the last thing to touch on with increasing your agent's raw power is by gaining additional copies. It's like this in every single gacha game. If you pull a duplication of a hero you already have, it's not the end of the world because you still can upgrade that hero. So in the bottom left here of Billy, you can see the icon called Cinema, and it says 1 of 6. So I already got an additional copy of Billy. It allowed me to upgrade him and get the effect of this level 1 ability, where it says when Billy hits an enemy with a dash attack or a dodge counter, he gains an additional 2.7 energy, and that can be triggered once every 5 seconds. So it's a nice little upgrade. This is how you can maximize the power of your agents. So I know this was a long section, but agents or your heroes are the most important part of all of these games. So I really wanted to go into detail with what that was. Now the stats of your hero, I'll go over this stuff during the combat video. So I'm not going to touch on that right now. Let's move on. So alongside your characters, you have these little minions that the game calls Bang Boos. Now Bang Boos are similar to agents. You can level up their base level. You can increase their stars depending if you get duplications or not. And each individual Bang Boo has certain skills that come with it. So Rocket Boo here, for instance, has an active skill where he gets up on a rocket and he shoots towards the enemy and hits him with fire damage. He also himself has damage multipliers and a cooldown. So he's not going in there and firing rockets all the time. He'll fire a rocket and then for 18 seconds, he'll kind of be just on standby. He also has additional effects. So if you have 2 or more fire attribute characters, anytime you do a chain attack, your Rocket Boo here is inflicting 100% more anomaly buildup, which will go into combat. But the long and short of it is these Bang Boos provide additional variants to your team building capabilities, as well as different variants in the different type of Bang Boos that you can acquire. You'll also see that they have different rarities. You have an S rank and then you have an A rank. So your S rank characters, your S rank Bang Boos are going to have higher base stats. They're probably going to have stronger effects, but the A rank Bang Boos are still going to be a viable option for you. So the way you acquire these Bang Boos are through a unique currency called Boopons. The game gives you these as you progress throughout. You can also exchange for some of them as well. The nice thing about the Bang Boo signal search, as the game calls it, which is your gacha system of when you're pulling characters, you're able to select a Bang Boo that you want. So if you have a team that's built more around ice damage or fire damage, you can then select the necessary Bang Boo that you want that's going to be better for your team build compositions, which is very cool and fun. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about are basic items and actually where to acquire them. So these are all of your main items within the game, and a lot of them are enhancement materials, others are crafting materials, which we'll talk about here in a second. So when we were discussing agents, we were talking about skill enhancement. This is where your basic physical chips come into play. Now you'll have different rarity levels. As you see here, this advanced physical chip has a B rarity, and then the basic physical chip has a C rarity. As you increase your agent skills, you're going to require higher level physical chips. You won't be able to get by with just 42 basic physical chips and upgrade your character skills just with the lowest form of that chip. So these are how you upgrade your character's skills. So next are the certification seals. These allow you to get across the barrier within your agents. You know how you can only level up to level 10? You will then need these certification seals depending on the subtype of your character, attack, stun, anomaly, support, defense, to get them from levels 10 to 20. And then from 20 to 30, you're going to need the advanced support, which is the B rank certification seals. These will allow you to go from 20 up to level 30, and then you'll use them again to break the barrier into level 30 and allow your characters to level up to level 40. Now your W engines also have the same thing. You need a certain item in order to increase the level cap, which I showed when we were talking about them a little bit. So same kind of premise here. It's based on the subtype and it's based on your level cap if you need the reinforced or just the baseline item. Bang Boos have the same exact thing, very similar to your agents where you need things to level up their level and then you need things to increase their level cap. So Bang Boos have their own separate item. Now come back to these other things here in a second. So these investigator logs are what increases your agent's level. So from level 0 to 10, this is what you'll use. You'll use these investigator logs, and the higher the level log, you have the ability to increase your agent's experience by crazy high experience. This one's 3,000, where the B level is 600, and then the baseline is only 100 XP for your agent. So this is how you increase the level of your agent. So the W engine battery is how you increase the experience for your W engine, 0 to 10. And then the crystallized plating agent is how you increase your gear level. And then last but not least, you have this software patch for your Bang Boos, which allow you to increase the XP of your Bang Boos. So in short, you have the items that increase the actual level of your items, whether it's the W engine, gear, agent, Bang Boo, and then you have these items that increase the cap level for you to keep increasing their levels. Whether it's for Bang Boos, for the W engine, or your agents, and then you also have individual items that allow you to increase the skill level, which again, we showed at the beginning, increases damage multiplier on those skills. Now the two that I didn't go over here are these master copies this audio booster, and then this one is noise reduction. So the game has a mechanic where you're able to craft gear, and I'll touch on that in a second, but these audio boosters are how you actually craft gear. So the B-rated master copy is going to get you, worse type of gear. The A is going to get you higher level gear, and so on and so forth. And then this ferocious grip is one of the items that you use to increase that core ability, those core skills that I talked about, the core passive and then the additional ability that's granted to your character if you have someone in your team that is either of their faction or the same element. So where do you get all of these items? Now, it's nice that in this storage area, they show you all the ways that you can get them. It shows you, combat simulations, you can craft or dismantle, so on and so forth. So what the actual combat simulation is if you go to the Hollow Investigative Association in the HIA Club, you're able to farm these materials for energy. So as you see here, you have 4 different options. You have your basic material, which is either the material to level up W engines, level up your agent, or level up the gear. You can also farm Denny. I highly advise against that. You have your agent promotion, whether it's attack, stun, anomaly, support, or defense. You have your W engine modifications as well. These are all of your level cap materials. And then these are your skills. And then you can even customize, your own set of enemies. Here it shows you all of the different things and items that they drop for you. But this is the main section of the game that you are going to be farming the materials that you need to increase your agent, bang, boo, W engine gear up to certain level caps or increasing their levels throughout the game. So on the other side of Bertha, you have Lila. Now Lila has a different type of items that you can farm. You can farm these items used for core passive skills that we just talked about. You can also farm some of these master copies that allow you to craft gear, along with your Internaut experience, which is your account level experience. So you can actually farm this for 400 XP to your own account. This is a really nice, easy way to kind of level up your account because you're trying to unlock everything that's available in the game. So depending on the character, they need, that specific item for their core skill, which usually pertains to their subtype. So that's where you can farm those materials. The HIA is where you're going to farm all of your character upgrade materials, level caps, and then also on your core passives. Now, a quick way to check this is up at the top right there. It's called the compendium. So if you hit your X button, right here is how you can actually jump to this area. You see your basic materials, W engine, your agent skills. And then your expert challenge is the other side that we just looked at with Lila. I think her name was Lila. Lila, yeah. Also in here, this is tracking your dailies, which allow you to get really easy rewards, increase your account level, and so on and so forth. And then it also has individual missions. This is a really nice way to see if you're on track in the game. You should be completing these. These will go, they'll basically play in tandem with what the game is wanting you to do and trying to progress in. And along with that, it's going to give you good rewards. It's going to give you account level experience. It's going to give you boo pawns, as you see here, to allow you to pull for bang boos. It's going to give you upgrade materials, bang boo upgrade materials, all those good things. And then if you complete all 5 of these, you're able to get polychromes, which is your premium currency to pull for new characters or W engines. You have master tapes, which is kind of like summon tickets. And then it even gives you pieces of gear, and you see here this gear is actually an S rarity piece of gear, so this is really worthwhile for me to continue on this path and try and get better rewards. So you have your game objectives, you have your dailies, and then you have your training materials, which allow you to go and get all of your upgrade materials that we talked about in the combat simulation and in the expert challenges. Now the routine cleanup, as well as Notorious Hunt, Hollow Zero, and Shio Defense is next on our list, but we have to go to a different location to show you where that is. So the next key location that you're going to be spending a lot of time in is a place called Scott Outpost. So in the outpost, you're going to have 4 main areas. You have Shiyu Defense, you have Hollow Zero, you have Notorious Hunt, and then you have Cleanup. Now, Notorious Hunt you can only do 3 times a week. You'll see that indicated here in the bottom left where it says the remaining rewards. So you want to be maximizing this every week. The reason being are these items here, this Ferocious Grip, your Living Drive, and your Finale Dance Shoes. The reason why I say this is if you go to your agents here, you can see in their core passives, right, that they need a lot of those. It's these items in yellow. So for Kaleda, she needs 2, 5, 9 pieces of that individual item that you can only farm 3 times a week in your Notorious Hunt. So that's why you really want to maximize this. Now you see some other items here that you can actually acquire. I'll touch on that in a second, but they are also extremely useful items. So that is Notorious Hunt. Now Cleanup is actually where you can farm pieces of gear, and you can do this just for energy. You can also acquire the necessary item to level up your gear. They have a bunch of different variations where your gear types change. And then also it has a buffed attribute, so it allows you to pick and choose the type of enemy that you might have, stronger characters for. So yeah, that's what routine Cleanup is. So next is Shiyu Defense. This is the content that I believe will be the most endgame. This is something that I believe will have its own individual seasons. I think it lasts, for each main update to the game. This is where you can get a bunch of different items, really useful, whether it's, those polychromes, it's master copies, if it's, some of these investigation merits, which is an actual currency that you can exchange for more items in the game. These W engine chips, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But you see as the further down you go, you're actually getting more and more valuable items, which is just progressing on these floors. So right now I am on level 6, and that's because, this stuff just keeps scaling. They also have specific individual unique effects on each of these nodes, as you see here. This one increases your chain attack damage. This one increases the anomaly buildup, so on and so forth. But yeah, I believe this will be the end game for Zenless Zone 0. And then last but not least, you have Hollow Zero. Now, Hollow Zero is like a weekly bounty that you want to do. You want to take full advantage of this mode. The key thing to note is the bottom left. So every week you can do 7 commissions, and you want to fully utilize all of these. When you do a mission, you get a certain amount of what they call investigation points. And as you see here, the points are located on the right: 1,000 points, 1,250 points, 2,500 points. Within these different Hollow Zero trials, you get some very nice rewards. The investigation points is kind of, like I said, a seasonal pass where the more investigation points that you acquire, the better rewards that you'll get. So on top of your investigation points, which are important, you do get these Denny, and then you have these items which you can actually increase the amount of power that you have within this area of Hollow Zero, which you can actually go to an area that you see on the bottom right called Combat Configuration. You're able to increase your team's power, whether it's attack or defense or, taking less damage. You unlock these nodes by acquiring those items that I talked about, that Withered Crystal. So as you complete those Hollow Zero trials, you're going to acquire some of this currency as well, which will then allow you to scale further into the game whenever things get more difficult. So you definitely want to do your bounties each week, at least 7 of them. You want to try and get the max investigation points that you can each period at 6,000. The reason why you want to do this is because as you increase your investigation points, you actually increase your license level. And again, this is where you get some really nice rewards. You get those polychromes, you get boupons, you get enhancement materials, all of these nice things. So you definitely want to take advantage of this system. It's also part of the main story, all of those things. So you're going to have to do it anyway. But I do want to tell you that outside of the main story, it won't take you back here all the time. So please do not forget about this. You're going to miss out on a lot of really good rewards if you do. So right now, I would say that the HIA and Scott Outpost are probably the two most important areas of the game outside of the main story. You're going to be doing kind of day in and day out. You can also fast travel to these locations by using your compendium. So we talked about the combat simulation, which is at the HIA. And then, you see here you have your routine cleanup for training. This will take you to Scott's Outpost. And then in challenges, you have the Notorious Hunt, Hollow Zero, and Shield Defense that you can all fast travel to. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the other individual areas. So of that, you have areas like Luminous Square, you have the Ballad Twins, you have Brant Street Construction Site. 6th Street is your main hub, which is right where your video store is, which is where your character lives. Now, the important thing about 6th Street, Brant Street, Ballad Twins, and Luminous Square is they have those individual areas. And what's important about those areas, like if you see with Brant Street Construction here, you'll see that little blue exclamation mark with a 1 next to it. So if we teleport to that area, we can actually identify the side quest that is available there to us. So if you go over here, we're able to trigger this side quest. Now, some of the side quests are a little harder to locate. Sometimes they'll have, one of those big blue exclamation points hanging right over them, so it's really easy. This one was a little bit harder because it's a different type of event. I actually won't even touch on it just because it's going to get confusing to everybody. But ultimately, this is what happened. I entered into a side event and I was able to increase my trust with Ben. But either way, that's the most important thing to recognize about 6th Street, Brant, Ballad Twins, and Luminous Square. It's kind of like their own individual areas. A lot of them are kind of the same. It's just a new, different location, but it allows you to add additional side quests. On top of the side quests, you do have this character called Officer Mew Mew in all of those locations. He is important because he also has a type of quest that you need to complete within his area. And if you do, you get, a small amount of items. But the key thing here are these little yellow orbs that you see, like 8 out of 16 here. What's important about those orbs is in order for you to increase your rank for your player level or your reputation as a proxy to unlock more things within the game, you need to have the necessary amount of these items to do it. So just progressing through the game and increasing your account level will get to a point where it's not enough. So if you see here on your intranet level, right? Your rank up requirements are you need to reach level 40, but then on top of that, you also have to have your exploration observation data at 100 as well. Now, thankfully, I've been progressing through the game and mine's at 205 out of 100, so it's not a huge deal. But there will be a point, I believe, where just playing the main story and all that stuff isn't going to be enough. You're going to have to use Officer Mew Mew, as I said, to kind of acquire even more of those orbs. So those 4 locations are really important for that reason. So I do want to touch on some of the key items in the game. Now, if you're looking for this, all you have to do is go on the top left corner of your game, and it brings you into this, main page. And if you go to storage, you can see all of your items. You can see your W engine, you can see your gear, you can see your upgrade materials, and then on the far right, you can go and see your key items. So here, your master tape, like I said, is one of the summoning tickets in the banner, and I'll show you that here in a second. I already kind of did with the Bang Boos. The Bupon we talked about, it's how you can pull for specific bang boos. Now, this W engine chip, this is what you need to craft additional W engines at the gadget store, which is the next thing that we're going to be talking about. These ether batteries are just ways to restore your energy. You get these by leveling up your characters. You get this by increasing your account level. You do it by completing missions. This is just something that's given to you. I'm saving it up because I haven't needed to use it. But if I ever want to, I'm going to. I don't know if this is a super rare item or if there's any type of event where you're going to be based on energy. I don't know. I'm just saving it until then. So these 3 items here are your kind of wild card items. I had zero idea what the heck these were for a long time, but I finally figured it out. And these are the ones that I think are kind of rare. I don't know when to use them, but I'm kind of afraid to use them. So this prototype seal is, like I said, it's like a wild card for certification seals. These are the items that you use to level up the level cap of your agents. So to go from, level 10 to 20, 20 to 30, so on and so forth. So if you don't have the necessary items, you can then use these prototype seals in place of those items. Now, it's not a one-to-one exchange, and I'll show you what I mean here. So if I want to level up like a character from level 30 to 40, because I don't have 20 of these items here, I can click replenish materials, and here I can use 60 of these chips to increase the level cap from 30 to 40 instead of going and farming those materials. So it looks like it's a 3-to-1 exchange in that for those seals. I don't know if it's the same for the others, but master component is the same thing for W engines. So if you don't have enough upgrade materials to get your W engine from 10 to 20 and so on and so forth, you can then use these master components. And then these original chips are a substitute for the advanced chips right here, these basic chips and whatever, to upgrade your character's skills. So that's what those 3 items are. So I did just want to touch on that for a second. All right, now let's go back to these W engine chips. So I was going to tell you guys where to acquire W engines whenever we were talking about agent strength. So if you go to 6th Street, right, let's say, we're right outside our music store that we own, video store, Random Play. If you come outside of Random Play, you can go all the way to the right, go around the corner here, and you go to the gadget store. Now in the gadget store, you can see that they have different W engines. And they have different rarities, so rank B and A down at the bottom. And you see that they require those chips. Now, one rank A W engine requires 6 of those chips, and those chips are actually pretty hard to come by. We saw in Notorious Hunt, which you can only farm 3 times a week, give you some of those original chips. So these are a really rare item, and you should hold on to them or spend them wisely. Now, within this gadget shop, you're able to recycle some of your W engines. So if you get to a point where maybe you have too many of a rarity A or whatever, you can recycle those and you can get some chips, but I would not recommend doing that. I would just hold on to them for now and then use your chips wisely. As far as the B rank items, I would just recycle these. You can get some money back, and then you can also get the components that you need to level up your W engines. So yeah, that's the gadget store. That's where you can acquire your W engines by crafting them, or of course you can pull on whatever the updated W engine channel is. You can get some of the highlighted W engines that they're showcasing right now. So on this banner, you have your S engine, which is Deep Sea Visitor, and then you also have the Drill Rig and Bashful Demon, which are your 2 A ranks. So you can pull W engines on these banners as well. Okay, so when it comes to gear farming, which is another thing that we kind of just touched on, at the outpost, you can do that routine cleanup for gear. The other thing, or the other area that you can actually farm or craft gear, is also on 6th Street. I think the other areas of the game, those other areas that I mentioned, maybe Ballet Twins or Luminous Square, you might have some kind of music store. Oh, it doesn't actually look like you do. So 6th Street is the only place that has the music store. So in the music store here, you're able to go in, and this is where you can use those tuning materials that I had mentioned in our items. Now you see here I need 50 of those master copies in order to craft this gear. Now I can change which gear I want, depending on what's available to me here. So these are all the different options. Right now I have an impact set, so let's say I want to go for a crit rate set. I can then choose that and then tune 10 of them, and these are the items that I got. So I got a 4th gear slot, which we talked about at the beginning when we were going over agents. High variance on your base stat, and then also you have to achieve the nice type of random stat. I will say that this gear piece isn't bad. Defense percentage with HP percentage isn't bad, although that's typically going to be more on a defensive character. However, some defensive characters should be able to do some type of damage. And then this piece is actually really good. So the base stat is physical damage bonus. So this is going to be great on a physical element damage dealer. You have an attack percentage substat along with crit rate and HP percentage. So I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, this is the gear crafting that you can do. Now right now it says that everything's level 1, but in order to upgrade it to level 2, it shows you the requirements. You need to reach an account level of level 35. So once you do that, then I'll be able to talk to Elfie, which is the lady here, and I'll be able to craft better gear. In order to do that, you're going to need the necessary crafting materials, which if we look in the storage, it's going to be these items. This noise reduction master copy, which is a step up from your audio booster master copy. So that's where you can craft your gear. I did want to mention that the Bang Boo shop is actually right to the left of the music store. This is where you can go into the remodeling shop, and this is where your Bang Boos are, so to increase their levels and stuff like that. So the last thing I think we're going to do in this video, to close it out, because again, it is long, let's just go over the rest of these icons. So in the top right here, right next to the agent icon, is kind of like an event icon. It's the things that are currently going on. So right now it's telling you that you can get on a certain banner, you can get Ellen, which is the new S hero that's in the game, damage dealer. You can do one of her trials, like a demo, and you can get specific rewards. Same thing with Anton and Kaku, I think that's how you pronounce her name. So I will do these before the 9 days is up, just to get those extra rewards. I did do Ellen's for the premium currency. Right now, at the recording of this video, there's this giveaway going on where you can get these master tapes. These are items that it's like specific tickets for the premium banner. This is just tracking your bounties, which we talked about on Hollow Zero at the outpost. And then this is just some kind of video that you can watch for additional currency. So the compendium we already talked about, this is like your achievements throughout the game, to get some nice rewards and free items. In this case, it's going to be that nice set of S rank gear along with, additional items. You also have your dailies here, which is labeled as errands, and then you have your trainings, which we've touched on a couple times, as well as the challenges. So the next item at the top with the circle icon is kind of like your battle pass, your monthly pass that you have a base reward, and then if you pay a little bit of money, you can get the bottom row and get even better items. It also shows you up at the top right here, your tasks for the day, whether it's daily, weekly, or even seasonal tasks. And that helps you, get your level up rewards. So if you end up spending in games like this is usually one of your best value items here. I think the total cost of it was maybe like $10. I think maybe 15. I don't know, but in the end, it's definitely the best value item in the game, if not the second best. There might be one better, which is like your monthly pass that just gets you daily polychromes. Okay, so moving on. Next is the signal search. This is where all of your premium banners are. So right now, Ellen is the premium banner. She's up for 8 more days. And in most gacha games, these phase in and out with new characters. So with Ellen here, you can get the 2 A rank characters that come with her on this banner. So you have higher rates for Anton and Sokaku. And then, of course, Ellen is your S rank character. Now, as you see in the bottom right, you're able to guarantee an S rank signal after 84 more searches for me. That does not mean that I'm guaranteed to get Ellen. The way that I believe the pity works on this is if you miss on the first S rank, the featured hero, in this case Ellen, will be guaranteed on the next S rank. So I think you need 180 searches guaranteed, which is by all accounts probably expensive if you're chasing every single hero, which you probably shouldn't be doing. But if you spend, whatever. The nice thing is that this pity actually carries over. So if a new hero comes out and you are getting closer and closer to your S rank signal pity, it'll carry over on the new hero. So if you pull for Ellen and you don't get her, the next hero you're going to be even closer to your pity. So that's very nice. So along with your character premium banner, you also have a W engine premium banner, which we talked about briefly in the W engine section. Your Deep Sea Visitor is your premium W engine that you want to be able to pull, and then you have the 2 A rank W engines that are also featured here. And this also has a pity. As you see here, I'm 28 searches away to get at least an S rank, and you can see all of the details if you want. In the details section with the R3 button there, you can see the other S rank W engines that you could possibly pull. Same thing with the Ellen banner, you can see all of the other S rank heroes that you can pull. Then you have your standard banner. This is one where I highly suggest that you just pull your master tapes on once you have enough. The game gives you these throughout, completing events or your weeklies, or just trials throughout the game. I would not waste my polychromes on this. I would only use my polychromes to get more encrypted tape just for the premium banners. The nice thing with this is, again, you do have the pity for an S rank signal. On this banner, not only do you pull characters, but you also pull W engines. So you pull both on this banner. So this is another way to acquire the W engines other than crafting them. But you do have a pity for any S rank, and then at 300 pulls, you actually have the ability to pick from these individual S rank characters. Now, if anyone is wondering who to pull, I suggest that you just pull a hero that looks cool to you or that you would enjoy. But from what I've understood is this guy on the far right is very, very good, and he seems to be better than the rest. So if you want my opinion on that, that's who you should choose, I guess, just based on the rest of the community. And then last but not least is the Bang Boo banner, which we talked about during the Bang Boo section. But you do this just by using your Boo Pawns, which again are kind of acquired throughout playing the game. I do want to mention the Signal Shop, which is in the bottom left here with the L3 button on controllers if you're using a PlayStation controller. So every time you pull on these banners, you get currency back, and then you can recash in the currency for whatever they offer here in this shop. So this is just your standard polychrome exchange. You need 160 of them to get one of these tapes, whether it's the regular master tape or the encrypted. And again, you should always just use this unencrypted. You also have the Bang Bucks. These are the currency that you get whenever you pull on the Bang Boo banners. So you can get more Boo Pawns. You can get, copies of individual Bang Boos. You can get their level up materials, all of those things here. The Fading Signal, I believe you get these on every single banner alongside the other currencies. But you can use these for chips, so you don't have to waste energy, or things to level up W engines, gear, your agents, nice things there. And then your residual signal, so this is what you get whenever you pull on premium banners. So you can pull and get, S rank W engines or even more encrypted tapes. So it's pretty nice. So I did want to mention that. You also have, some other things in here. This is the monthly, polychrome deal. For $5, you get a real good amount of polychromes over the course of 30 days. So it's probably the best value in the game, right next to, the monthly pass that we talked about not too long ago. And then the monochrome market is where the whales hang. So yeah. Okay, so that's that. Now, the last few things that we're going to go through is just speed run all of the other icons. So we already talked about agents. We already talked about storage. This is where all of your items are. So the internaut is where you can look and find, small side quests. If you don't want to funnel through all of these posts here, you can just left click and go up to the help request info, and that's where all of your commissions are going to come from, which are side quests. So you can do that. Oh, also in that, it'll show you your schedule, the side quests that you have available to you, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or midnight. And then it also keeps you up to date on what level you are on your profile level. Your achievements is just that. As you're going through the game, you're going to unlock all of these achievements and get some polychromes along the way. Compendium, we already talked about. DMs, this is another just form of triggering your side quests, but that'll come to you. And then you have your options page. Very standard, just settings and stuff like that. Notices, mail are the two main ones in here that you're going to be using. This is just for events, see what's coming up, see what the game has planned for us. And then your mail is where you're going to get, compensation for bugs or whatever. So there you have it, guys. That is the beginner's guide for Zenless Zone Zero. I know it's a long video. I appreciate you sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope a lot of this stuff was useful to you. If you're looking forward to the combat video, please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. I want to know if this is entertaining enough to you, if it's helpful enough to you. I only want to make content that is actually helpful for players. If it's not helpful, it's not worth me taking the time to explain these things. This is a lot of time out of my day away from my family to try and make these videos. And if people don't find them helpful, there's no point. So your feedback really, really matters to me. Try and be nice, even if you're going to be critical. Don't be too mean. I'd appreciate that. But that's all I have, guys. Thanks for checking it out, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.